What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Perfect Mess Podcast. I'm your host, Ray Molina, and I want to tell you how amazing God is. All right? I don't often start off a podcast like this, but today I'm going to start it off like this, all right? A lot of you may know my situation with doing everything that I can to get my kids into a better situation, high school wise, school district wise. And it's something that I busted my ass to do. All right. I wanted them in a better school with better academics, better athletics, and to be honest, with just a better circle of friends. They had some great friends, don't get me wrong, and they still have those friends. But the surrounding area, I just wanted to get them out of there because I grew up over there, and I wanted something different for my kids. Like most parents, we always say when we have kids and when we become fathers, we want our kids to have better than what we had. And not that what we had wasn't good, but we just want better. And that's what I was shooting for. Now, I was able to do that last year. I was able to move my kids, or my oldest son, to a better school, better district. And I got a coaching job at this high school. And I was very, very proud of myself for being able to make that happen based on a skill that I have, and that is coaching baseball. Now, this year has been, I'm not gonna lie, pretty stressful because, both of my kids, I got a freshman now as well, but both of my kids are at the school. But high school sports is kind of funny sometimes because there are no guarantees that you come back and coach the following year. And to be honest with you, because we lost one of our coaches in the varsity level, it didn't look like I was going to come back, because the varsity guys, the guy who hired me and who absolutely loved me, guy is super decorated, has the winningest record at the high school, just all around a great coach, won multiple championships at different high schools, you name it, he's done it. And he was retiring. So I always knew, like, damn, there's a possibility when he retires that my job might be in jeopardy. Not because I wasn't doing my job, but because usually when that happens, they want to kind of just start fresh. So that's what it looked like this year. Now, I'm okay with that. But the difference is, with me, is if I am not working in the district, my kids now are at jeopardy because we are out of the area. We don't live in the area, and none of us actually work over there, meaning me and their mom. So that began to make me, to be honest, I was nervous, because I'm like, how can I figure out a way if I don't come back to keep my kids in this district? I don't want to move them back to our area. I want to keep them in this district because we're seeing the grades. The grades are great. We're seeing the conversation about college, the conversation in their life is changing because they're just around a different bunch of kids. And there's just so much, there's not as many distractions there because they didn't grow up on this side of town. You know what I mean? So I began to stress out. But then I remembered, how can you say you have faith if when moments like this happen, you start to panic and stress, when all you got to do is give it to God and pray? and continue to move forward, continue to try to make moves. So I prayed on it. And some of you guys are probably watching and listening saying, oh, wow, here's another person saying they prayed on it and it magically happened. No, it didn't magically happen. Because if you follow me long enough, you know I always tell you, you can't just pray and then sit in bed all day and hope that things are going to happen for you. That's not the way it works. When you pray, you still have to put in the footwork. You still have to get up every day and make the effort to try and change your situation. God doesn't just reward you and let you sit on your butt. So every day I got up. What am I going to do? How am I going to make this happen? And it got later and later in the year. We're in December now. And I realized my contract doesn't expire until December, the end of December, the end of the year. But I'm still working for the district technically. I still have my district email. And here's one other thing that I almost forgot. I still get the district internal emails with regards to job postings. Now, these are job postings that do not go to the public. They are internal first. So I started scouring these internal postings to see, are there any jobs that I know how to do that can keep me in this district so my kids can stay? Aside from being a teacher, because I do not have a teaching degree. So I applied for campus security. I applied for driving special ed kids around to school in the morning and then picking them up. You know, jobs that I could do. I mean, I'm always transporting kids anyway and driving them to baseball games, to practices, and driving them to Las Vegas to compete for baseball tournaments. So I have already passed background checks. I've passed all of the checks. I check off all the boxes for doing that. So I applied for that. I even applied for a maintenance man because I'm pretty good with my hands. And then I forgot about it. And then I was like, you know, and I'm sure you're listening probably thinking, why don't you just move over there? Well, if it were that easy, I would do it. But what you have to understand is I live in a very expensive area. All right. Now that other area where they're going to school is even more expensive. And so me moving over there would put me in a financial bind that I couldn't possibly handle. I'm always going to keep it real with you. All right. I don't make a whole lot of money. But here's the thing. I forgot about all this stuff. And my next goal was, okay, maybe I'll take on a coaching job for a school that's in the district. Hopefully it's a school that doesn't play my kids' school. Yes, I'll miss the games that my kids play, but it's about keeping my kids in this school. So if I have to miss games and coach at another high school that's in the district that doesn't play my kids' school so they could stay at that school, then I'll do it. So I applied for a couple of jobs coaching as well. As it got later, I started realizing I'm probably not going to get the coaching job that I had at the school my kids go to. So I accepted that. And then I realized that God was working because my phone started ringing and I started getting offered coaching jobs. Now, they weren't coaching jobs in the district, but they were amazing coaching jobs. Now, I had to turn some of them down because obviously I'm trying to stay in the district, right? So that was a little frustrating, but it was a blessing because I knew God was working. That told me God was working because my phone was ringing. And then I got offered a couple of jobs that were in the district coaching, but I would be coaching against my kids, and I really didn't want to do that. But if I didn't get a job in the district, if that meant that I would keep my kids in the district and I had to coach against them, again, Whatever was going to keep my kids in the district, I was going to do. So as I was getting ready to accept one of those jobs, I got a phone call for one position in the district, and I went and interviewed. And then I got another phone call from a different position in the district, and I went and interviewed. And I'm like, wait a minute, something's going on. This is what I've been praying about. It took about 2 weeks, and I got a call back from one of them, and they said, or actually I didn't get a call. They sent an email after I did all the background check and I did the interview. They did my, called my references like they always do. I knew something was working because the people that are on my reference list would call me and tell me, hey, I just got a call for this job. And then they called me and said, hey, I just got a call from that job. So I knew, again, God was working. So finally, excuse the sounds if you hear cars. I'm parked on the side of the road. But I knew God was working again. And then finally I get an email, and the first interview I did, that job, which is in the school district, working for the district, gave me a job offer. And I was like, holy crap. Now here's where it got a little tricky. The second one, I was really curious if I got it because it sounded like I had it. Now the only reason why I didn't immediately the first day respond to the first job offer is because the other one was more money. And let's be honest, if you can change your life and make more money, and it also helped me keep my kids in the district, why not? So what I did was I followed up with that job, and I said, hey, just following up with you guys to see if you had already filled the position. I know it's been a couple of weeks. I have an opportunity, but I'd like to see if this one was on the table for me, because if so, I would like it. If you could get back to me, that would be great. They emailed me back and said, sorry for the late response. We meant to call you, but we did make the offer to someone else. They haven't responded yet, but we did make the offer, and it looks like they're going to accept the offer because we did talk a week ago. And I said, okay, cool. Thank you so much. So I got the answer. So what I did was I emailed back, and I happily accepted the job for the school district. So now I get the job for the school district, all right? Now I am an actual employee of the district, not coaching or anything, just working, which is the first time I've ever done that. Never worked for a school district in my life, except coaching. So got the school district job, secured my kids staying in this district. Thank you, Lord. God gives you what you need first, okay? This is how this works. God doesn't always give you what you want, but he will give you what you need. You got to put in the work. You got to have faith. And so at that moment, I praised God and I thanked him so much because I was able as a father to do my part to keep my kids right where they needed to be. And that was in this school district. So he gave me what I needed, what my kids needed. A week later, which was 2 days ago, I get an email of a coaching job offer at a rival school for where my kids go to that is in the district. And it's an absolute killer baseball coaching job. And I say, my schedule will allow me to coach, but it would be selfish of me to coach at that other school because I would be doing it just for me. I did my job. I got the job to keep my kids at the school. Now, if I took this coaching job at the other school, that would be a selfish move because then I would be coaching for me and I would be missing my kids playing baseball, watching them. But let me ask my kids, because my kids are competitors and I always want to hear their input. So I sent them a screenshot of the email and I said, hey boys, Here's the offer from this school. They know the school very well. In fact, a few kids that I coach travel ball go to that school. I said, you tell me, do you want me to be a coach and coach? Or do you want me to be a dad, sit in the bleachers this year and watch you guys play baseball? I said, don't say what you think I want to hear. I want to hear you and your opinion. My oldest son replied and he said, I'd rather you watch. He's like, I don't want to compete against you. I don't want you to be the op, LOL. I said, okay. My youngest one, he's a freshman. He simply replied with, watch. And what that told me was, Dad, you were there for Jordan, his older brother. You were there for Jordan, his freshman year coaching at the other school. You were there for him, his sophomore, coaching at this new school. It's my freshman year now. I want you there for me. If you're not going to be in the dugout, I want you to be in the stands. I want to be able to look up and see you there. My response to my son was, say less. I love you, son. That hit me in the heart because I realized how much it meant to my son. Now, did I immediately email that school back and say no? I did not. And here's what happened next. I picked the kids up from school, take them to their mom's house. I'm talking to my ex-wife, and I said, you know what's funny? I said, let's say the kids said, Dad, go be a coach. You're a baseball coach. Go coach. And we're going to beat you, by the way. Let's say that was their mentality. I go, you know how funny this is? This is how my life works. I take that job, and a week later, the school that I coached at, where my kids go, calls me and offers me my job again. That's how this works. And then I'm screwed because I took that job and I can't back out of it now. I said, that's how my life works. And my ex-wife laughed and she's like, wouldn't that be something? I go, I know, right? I go, but that's my life. I go, all right, I'm gonna go to work. And I walked out the door, went to get into my car, and right when I went to open my door, guess who called? The school my kids go to, and said, are you still available? I heard you have offers to go coach at another school. Did you take any of those offers because we want you back? I said, I have an offer that came through at 10:30 this morning that I was going to respond to, but I have not yet. And they said, please give me 1 day. Give me 1 day, and we'd like you to come back here. Don't answer that email back yet. Can you give me 1 day? And I said, sure, I'll give you a day. It didn't even take a day. Within the next hour, I was called by the varsity coach that they hired and said, hey, I was a little worried because I don't have a junior varsity coach, and I heard that you had offers to go somewhere else to even coach varsity. I was hoping you didn't leave because we really need you, and I'd love for you to come back if you'll take the job. And I said, yeah, my intention was never to leave. My intention was always to come back, but it didn't look like it was going to happen. And he goes, well, if you'll have us, I'd love for you to come back. I just left a meeting with the athletic director, and I agreed to come back to coach at the school my kids go to and where I was coaching last year and where this all started. This is the position I wanted. Do you understand where I'm going with this now? God gave me what I needed to keep my kids in the school district. And because I showed faith, because I busted my butt to do my part, He then blessed me with what I wanted, and that was this coaching job. I am so glad I made it through this episode without crying, because I have been crying. Tears of joy. Feeling grateful. Feeling very blessed. Feeling thankful. I am overwhelmed with what God has done in my life. And I will forever proclaim God as my Lord and Savior. And I will forever tell people, and I will scream at the top of that mountain, that God is the greatest. He has changed my life so much. I want to thank every single one of you who tunes into this podcast. I want to thank every single one of you that goes to my TikTok live to listen to the live broadcast. I just want to thank all of you who have continued to be in my corner, support me, my family, and everything that I've been trying to do. It means so much to me. I can't even put it into words. I am so grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope this hits home for you. And if you're someone who maybe struggles with your faith, if you're someone who struggles with believing that prayer works, or if you're someone who doesn't believe, I promise you, it works. I promise you, there is no God more powerful than my Lord and Savior. I promise you. God is the only way. I promise you. And if you have any questions, you can message me at any time. I love you guys. God bless you. And I'm going to close this episode like I always do. My life isn't perfect. Oftentimes it is a mess. But for me, it is the perfect mess. I love you. God bless you. Please tell the people that you love them. And I will see you on the flip side. Peace.